handmade Christmas decorations. Available in the shop soon, maybe now, but soon anyway. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Taylor and I am the Lass in Linen. This is our YouTube channel. I am so excited for today's video, and I know I'm probably gonna get people saying that it's just far too early for this video, and for me, at least this year, it's not. I am feeling so festive this year. I am feeling so in the Christmas spirit, in the Christmas mood, and I can't wait to get decorating. Today I really wanted to share with you guys some of the books that I will be reading for the lead up to Christmas to not really put me in the festive mood, because to be honest, like I just said, I am feeling crazy festive this year, but to further my festive mood. And if you're not feeling so festive, these books might help as well. A couple of them I've read before, one of them I'm in the middle of right now. Most of them are new to me and I am so excited to get reading. So without further ado, let us get into the books. I just need to find somewhere to put my tea where the dog can't get it. I'm in the middle of reorganizing my shelves, so usually I have like a little perch here, but I don't have it anymore. Maybe if I push these? No, definitely not. Okay, somewhere else, off camera. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to be reading for the lead up to Christmas is going to also be a recommendation because I have read it before. I read it for the first time either last year or the year before, I can't really remember, but it's so good, and that is Hercule Poirot's Christmas. If you've been to my channel before, this is no surprise. You know I love a mystery and I'm a huge Agatha Christie fangirl, absolutely massive. Hercule Poirot's Christmas is also just an interesting Agatha Christie to read because it is arguably her most gory book. It has the most overt violence in it, and I was actually reminded of this by another book that I cannot recommend enough. It's not a Christmas book, so consider this a bonus recommendation. But I recently read Murder Isn't Easy by Carla Valentine, which I actually have right here, and I will show you because it's stunning. This isn't Christmas, this is a bonus recommendation, but if you like Agatha Christie or you like true crime or forensics or all of those things like myself, please pick this up. It's amazing. It is about the forensics of Agatha Christie and all the research that she did into her novels and why she knew so much about murder and the different forms of murder. It's so good and it's so beautiful. I mean, come on, you gotta check it out. You absolutely have to check out that book. But in it, she talks about Hercule Poirot's Christmas and how it is the most overtly violent of the books, and basically the reason for that is because Agatha Christie's either her brother or her brother-in-law, I can't remember right now, used to complain about how little violence and actual gore there was in her books and how that kind of made it less realistic. So she wrote this for him. I don't know if there's a dedication actually. Yeah. It's his, okay, this is really good. It's for her brother-in-law. It says, "My dear James, you have always been one of the most faithful and kindly of my readers, and I was therefore seriously perturbed when I received from you a word of criticism. You complained that my murders were getting too refined, anemic in fact. You yearned for a good violent murder with lots of blood, a murder where there was no doubt about it being a murder. So this is your special story, written for you. I hope it may please your affectionate sister-in-law, Agatha." I love that little tidbit of history, and I love that she put that in the book, and it really is violent and gory, especially for Agatha Christie, where you don't really expect that because, as James criticized, her murders are usually a little bit more passively described. But like all Agatha Christie books, this is such an enjoyable read for me. I love it so much. and I will be reading this again this year. If you haven't read it before and you want something kind of cozy, but you're in the mystery mood, maybe even a little bit thrillery, because this definitely borders the line of thriller, I would definitely check out Hercule Poirot's Christmas. Plus, I know people criticize Poirot, and yeah, he's sassy and rude, but I just love him. I like Miss Marple, but Poirot is my favorite. I love the sass. I love the sass. I have another mystery that I'll be reading, a new to me mystery, and this is from the British Library Crime Classics, if I can say that correctly. And that is Murder After Christmas by Rupert Latimer. Or Latimer. I think it's Latimer. This is a pretty classic, well, crime classic, but it is a pretty classic plot. This is about a man who goes to stay with his relatives over Christmas and is found dead in the snow on Boxing Day morning in a Santa suit. And all of a sudden, there's a large investigation. People from his past start coming into the investigation. A murder mystery ensues. It sounds perfect. It looks very cozy. I love the British Library Crime Classics. I only got into them, I think this year was when I started reading them. And they're some of my favorites. They're so good. They're always so good and totally capture my attention. And I mean, look at that cover. It just screams winter and cozy. And I don't know about where you live, but here in Scotland it is dreek and it is dark and cold and rainy, and it's time for the Christmas festive but very moody atmospheric reads, and this seems like it's going to tick those boxes for me. So I am looking forward to that one. I also have an anthology to recommend to you guys, which, I mean, I'll be reading it for the first time, so I don't know if it's a proper recommendation, but I'm very excited and I've heard great things about this. And this is a literary Christmas, an anthology. This is published by the British Library, and I have the hardest time finding the editor for this. Yeah, so from the research I've done, I actually can't find an editor because I'd love to I'd love to actually credit someone for putting this together, but it just says that it's by the British Library, so we'll say that. However, there are stories from Laurie Lee, Nancy Mitford, Benjamin Zephaniah, P.G. Wodehouse, oh I love him, Dylan Thomas, George Mackay Brown, Arnold Bennett, D.H. Lawrence, William Wordsworth, Emily Bronte, Charles Dickens, Thomas Hardy, Christina Rossetti, John Milton, Elizabeth Barrett Brown, G.K. Chesterton, oh my goodness, John Donne, John Evelyn, John Gay, Henry James, William Shakespeare, Jane Austen, William Makepeace Thackeray, Percy Bysshe Shelley, Alfred Tennyson. I mean, anybody you can think of in the kind of classic literature genre is in this anthology, even though it's quite thin. I think this is going to be really great to dip in and out of this season. Like I said, it is quite thin, so it's not something that I think will take me very long, but equally is not something that I just want to rush my way through. I think I will save this for actually reading it in December. There are also illustrations throughout, which I love. I think that is so cute. Oh, I love that so much. It's a really beautifully published book. I mean, it's not a massive surprise being that it is from the British Library, but yeah, it's just a beautiful book in itself. There's also another one that I don't have yet. It's the literary Christmas anthology, but children's, so it's all like children's stories, children's version, and I hope to get that one soon, but I'm going to start with this one this year. I'm really looking forward to reading that, and I think it's going to be great for making me feel extra festive. So the next one I'm actually already about 100 pages through, because it starts in November and goes right through to January, and I'm sure most of you at least know about this, if not read it every Christmas yourselves. But that is Nigel Slater's The Christmas Chronicles. I have had this on my wish list for such a long time. This is a mix of stories, facts, anecdotes, and Recipes by Nigel Slater. And I'll be honest, I don't really read the recipes. I kind of mark ones that sound interesting, but I don't really read through them. But I do read the little stories and facts and anecdotes that he has on the day, and it's just really, it's already making me feel so cozy. He talks a lot about his own experience growing up and his memories from Christmas growing up in the countryside, and you know, the wood fireplaces and the smell of the smoke and the different smells and textures and feelings of Christmas growing up. I just love it. It's very atmospheric, and it makes me remember my own childhood growing up over Christmas in Canada and the things that my family used to do. I am so enjoying getting through this one. I'm kind of reading it in little chunks because I don't think I'm gonna read it right through to January. Like, I don't think I'm gonna read it once a day right through to January. I would like to finish it before Christmas, but I just love it so much. It's so good. And the recipes do sound amazing. I'm just not someone who generally sits down to read recipes. And it's another beautiful book as well. I mean, the photography in here is stunning and makes me very hungry. Very, very hungry. But if you haven't read this before, if you're like me and you just haven't picked it up, or you've had it on your wish list for a really long time like I did, I definitely recommend it. It's just so much fun. It's so atmospheric. It makes me feel very cozy and Christmassy and festive, and it's such a good feeling. I love books that do that. Another book that I have had on my wish list for years and I finally picked up this year, I'm so happy that I did, is this copy of Dickens at Christmas. This is by Charles Dickens and published by Vintage Classics. Part of the reason I have had this on my list for ages is because the cover is designed by Emily Sutton, and I love Emily Sutton. I love her illustrations. She does a lot of book cover illustrations. I am hoping that one day I can afford to have one of her full-size prints in my house because they're just so beautiful, but they are, like, rightly so, a couple £100. So it's definitely a special thing that I would get to do. But this is a compilation of Charles Dickens writing about Christmas. It includes A Christmas Carol, of course, which I have read before, but there are also a selection of writings that he's done from articles or from his other books that have been picked out, particularly sections about Christmas. So the first one is from the Pickwick Papers, and then it's the Christmas books, which includes A Christmas Carol, The Chimes, A Cricket on the Hearth, The Battle of Life, The Haunted Man, and The Ghost's Bargain. From Household Words, A Christmas Tree, A Christmas Dinner, What Christmas Is as We Grow Older, A Round of Stories by the Christmas Fire, and then from another round of stories by the Christmas Fire. And it's just a compilation of all of these short stories, novella-length stories, and then, like I said, there are bits from the Pickwick Papers as well, and there are illustrations throughout the book. At each section, Emily Sutton has done an illustration as well, and as well as just having a beautiful cover and being a beautiful book, Charles Dickens, as we all know, does Christmas so well. So I'm looking forward to dipping in and out of this throughout the season leading up to Christmas and really getting that feeling, because there's just nothing like reading a Charles Dickens commentary and description of the Christmas season. He also writes about food so well. I read an article on Charles Dickens writing about food, and it's just amazing. Like, it's so true. He writes about food so well. So I'm looking forward to reading this one and making that feel a little bit more festive. And then the last book I have to share with you is so special. This is a used copy that I found because I didn't really like the cover of the new copy. I love this one. It's so classic to me. And this is the Big Book of Christmas Mysteries. I won't go over my love of mysteries. We all know it exists, but this is a massive compilation of mysteries that happen over Christmas. There is an Agatha Christie story in here, I'm sure of it. Yeah, there's Agatha Christie, Colin Dexter, Ellis Peters, Thomas Hardy, Arthur Conan Doyle. Oh, there's so many. There's also a ton of authors I've actually never heard of before, which is fabulous. Josephine Bell, Mary Higgins Clark, G.K. Chesterton as well, of course. Robert Louis Stevenson, another Agatha Christie. There's a lot of Agatha Christie in here. This is edited by Otto Penzler, who also wrote an introduction, and published by Vintage. They actually have quite a few of these like big book of X mysteries. I know that there's one for, I think, 1920s crime fiction. There's the big book of ghost stories, adventure stories, vampires, fangs, coffins, zombies. There's just tons of them. I'm really interested in getting the 1920s fiction one as well, but this is the first one. I have been looking at this for such a long time. I've seen it floating around social media pretty much every Christmas for the last few years, and decided that this year was the year I was going to actually treat myself to it. There is nothing that gets me more in the mood than a mystery. It's dark, and it's, you know, it's just atmospheric. It's everything you want it to be. So I will be dipping into this one as well. And then I actually lied. I said that was the last book, and it's not. The last book I'm going to share with you guys isn't Christmassy or festive, but it's perfect for this time of year. I try and reread it every year. I think this year I'll be rereading it on audio. I know my mother-in-law rereads it every year because it's also, I think it's her favorite book of all time. It's one of my favorite classics for sure. And that's Jane Eyre. I mean, it's a classic. At least here in Scotland, like I said, dark, wet, moody, overcast, all of those things, and that screams Jane Eyre. So I will be rereading Jane Eyre on audio. I highly recommend reading Jane Eyre at this time of year. I love a seasonal read, as you guys know, but there's just something extra special about Jane Eyre when it's dark and gloomy outside. It is the perfect thing to read. So I recommend Jane Eyre, and especially if you haven't read it already, what are you doing? Jane Eyre is an amazing book. All the hype, all of everything, definitely deserved. So I will be rereading this, and I'm looking forward to that. I'll be re-listening to it rather. And those are all the books I will be reading for the lead up to Christmas this year to make me feel cozy and festive and in the mood. Quite a lot of murder mysteries, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but it's just what I like, you know? You guys know. It's just what I like. I'd love to know if you guys have books that you reread every year around this time of year that make you feel a little bit more festive and merry. I'd love to know if you guys are feeling festive this year. I think there's a whole range of things. I'm feeling very festive this year in a way that I wasn't last year or really the year before, but I know that there are still people who, you know, don't really get feeling festive, and this can be a really difficult time of year as well. I know for me, at least, I lost my dad in the autumn, so I always kind of struggle, and Christmas is a hard one because it was a very special holiday in our family, so it can be difficult, but I don't know, this year it just feels nice. I can't really explain why, it just does. So please let me know what you guys will be reading in the winter season. Also, if you have any recommendations, I am making a list. So please do put any recommendations in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, a little like, and subscribe. Consider subscribing. It helps us build our channel here. And if you're looking for any handmade gifts to give this festive season and want to support a small business, I do have a shop where I either make everything or I have curated it myself with my husband. The link is always in the description box, and it is much appreciated as a full-time self-sustaining artist trying to pay her bills. It's great, and Christmas season is tough on everyone. Like I said, I will also have Christmas decorations in the shop very soon. They may be up now, I don't know. If not, they will definitely be in the shop by the end of this week. So if you're looking for some handmade Christmas decorations as well, please check out my shop. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you cookie in and stay cozy, and I will see you in the next video. Slàinte mhath!